Hi, everyone, and thanks for being with me. I've been a bit absent for the last few days, had other things to do, been doing a little bit of travelling, in fact, and have got a video in relation to the travels that myself and my wife have done over the last day or so, and that'll be posted here on my YouTube channel at some particular point, something for you all not to look forward to. So, welcome to that when it drops. Now, I'm going to do a segment here on Rita Pants on Fire because she has got her knickers in a knot again. And the first one is in this this notion, I guess, that at every level, in every possible way, we must defend Donald Trump because Donald Trump is innocent of any of the crimes or the allegations made against him. The hush money case, for example, which has now been going on for over 3 years, that comes to a head in a couple of weeks. And God, don't they hate it on the right? Fancy Donald Trump being... It even suggested that he have sex with a porn star at the same time as his wife was giving birth to their son. That's a terrible allegation to make and is clearly, according to people like Rita, is simply Donald Trump disorientation syndrome or whatever they call it, distortion. Well, it isn't. They are facts. And in a couple of weeks, that goes to trial, and we'll see whether or not a group of people that supposedly be Trump peers, I don't know whether people just chosen randomly will be peers, but nevertheless, there will be a group of Americans who will decide, citizens in fact, who will decide as to whether Trump was guilty of that hush money event. So, but in this particular case, Rita is particularly got her knickers in a knot over the fact that Nicole Wallace had a moment where she just felt so frustrated about what's happening, and particularly in relation to the delay tactics Trump uses. Now, it is not unknown for Trump to find whatever ways he can to delay some of these court cases. Now, the issue here with the case in New York is that even if he was president, he is not able to pardon himself because this is not a federal issue. So he's doing all that he can to have it postponed regardless, so that at the end of the day, he doesn't go to jail. So this is what this is about. And of all the cases, this is the one that probably concerns him the most, because if he does make it as the president, heaven forbid, then this is the one he will not be able to escape. So all stops are out. The game is on. And people like Rita and Sky News are doing all that they can to try and convince the rest of us that this is inappropriate, unhelpful. It's all targeting Donald Trump. Trump is innocent of all of these events, and that as a result of that, we should all just turn a bloody blind eye and not really care too much about it. So the interesting thing here is that she has to go at Nicole Wallace. Now, I do watch a lot of MSNBC YouTube clippets, and I certainly do watch Deadline, which Nicole Wallace is the presenter. And she is fabulous. And we must remember that Nicole Wallace herself was a Republican who worked for George W. Bush. And she has got an insight into what happens in politics as good as anybody else, certainly far more superior to Rita. And she's certainly a far better presenter than Rita is. And in this particular clip, she just gets frustrated and she throws her paper in the air. And they talk about this. Rita talks about this like it was a rehearsed event. Who cares whether it was or not? If you watch Nicole enough, you know that she's probably one of the most natural presenters you can get. So she threw the papers up in the air, and you think that the right have lost it? Well, they have. And I find there's an irony here in the fact that Rita calls this left losing it. Actually, to be honest, this is the right losing it, namely Rita and her cohort. So I'll play a bit of this segment, and then I'll go to another part of the same clip where they're talking about what happened over Easter in relation to the transgender day, and how they have got this so confused. And when you talk about Trump derangement syndrome, there's certainly an issue here which is relating to the left, social, the distortions that they care to place on what's happening in the left of politics, or just politics in general, that they don't agree with. And Rita is behaving as we've often accustomed in relation to Rita. She's behaving in ways which do not do her profession. If she is, I don't even know if she's a journalist, but certainly don't do Sky any favours. So here she is.
Now, we regularly have MSNBC feature in Lefties Losing It, and here is another example. MSNBC's reporting has become so wildly deranged.
And I think it's quite interesting here. She doesn't even know who Nicole Wallace is. If you follow US news, you certainly know who Nicole is, and you certainly would be respecting her standing as a presenter and as a journalist.
Deranged and unhinged, they're now pretending to go off script to emphasise their Trump derangement syndrome.
You know, it's time to do something different. Like, we're not going to have this conversation again. I have come on the air with breaking news about requests for gag orders because of threats for judges and their kids more times than I could count today before I got ready. And Judge Ludig, I think it's time, I don't know who has to write the banners at the bottom of my show. I'm sorry in advance. But Donald Trump broke the rule of law. And we should cover a broken judiciary in this country. Donald Trump managed to delay every federal criminal trial.
How conveniently placed that camera was for the script toss.
So we're ignoring now the fact that she was talking about Nancy. On that segment, she had a judge, two very well-renowned lawyers, and and Holman, who's a political commentator. So she had a panel of people to talk about this, but we're not. But of course, Rita's not going to play the issue, which is about Trump delaying all of these court cases in the way that he has. And it is frustrating. The man is a moron, but he does have this ability, because he has the money and the legal clout, to find ways to postpone these events. He tried to do it again during the week, and the judge had pushed that allegation out, and he is now having to go to court on, I think, the 15th of this month. So all is lost in terms of that. He will put other efforts into frustrating the court system, but Nicole is right. The court system is stuffed in the United States because it allows people with money like Donald Trump to get away with postponing what in some cases is the inevitable. And they are frustrated. I understand all of that. But certainly Rita would not understand that, because she's so far to the right and so busy defending Trump, and for reasons I cannot understand. I cannot understand how an intelligent person could defend Trump in the way that Rita and Sky News do. But they do because they're Murdoch-owned press, and they wish to convince all of us, as limited as their reach might be. They still are influential in trying to convince the rest of us, for whatever reason, that Trump is a good guy, when in fact he ain't.
After all, two Democratic clients of Lauren Merchant's consulting firm have raised at least $93 million in campaign donations while using the case in their solicitation emails. Team Trump has repeatedly called for Judge Merchant to recuse himself from the case. Joining me now is Senior Editor-at-Large of Newsweek, Josh Hammer. Josh, what do you make of this case and MSNBC's outrage at Trump attacking the justice system?
I think there's an interesting contradiction here. The outrage at Trump. So there's an interesting juxtaposition between the outrage that Trump is that they're demonstrating because of this case and the fact that he keeps trying to postpone it, and Nicole Wallace simply throwing some papers up in the air because she, as a reporter, is extremely frustrated as to where this is going and the destruction that it causes the judicial system in the US. And here we have this right-wing commentator who's going to talk about this in the most denigrating possible terms you can imagine.
Well, Rita, great to join you as always. So first of all, I mean, that clip that we just saw from MSNBC, you see the host there. She's flailing her arms. She is so apoplectic, the fact that Trump is doing everything possible to try to delay this trial. This is part of a much more insidious, pernicious line of argumentation that we've seen from the Democrats and their allies of late. So Jack Smith, who is the special counsel for Attorney General Merrick Garland, who is currently prosecuting Donald Trump in both Washington, D.C. and Florida, he has spoken in the past of how you have an alleged Sixth Amendment right to make sure that we have this trial conducted speedily so that the government can know whether Donald Trump is guilty or innocent. He has flipped our entire Bill of Rights, our entire constitutional structure on its head. Our Bill of Rights, your First Amendment right to free speech, your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, your Third Amendment right to stay in your homes less.
And the issue here is really more about the fact that Trump has attacked the judge's daughter over her involvement with the Democratic Party some years ago. So this isn't about a recent event. This is about dirty politics, something that Rita Bolt and others at Sky News certainly should be well aware of because they participate in it a lot of the time. And that, should we be able to, as public citizens, if there's a court case against us, should it be our right to attack the family of a judge? And one has to say, well, for normal people like me and most of you, that would be absolutely inappropriate, regardless of that person's involvement. So it's like asking, am I responsible for anything that my children might choose to do? Well, I'm not. Hopefully they don't do things that are criminal, obviously, but I'm not responsible for the behaviours of my kids. If my kids chose to be extreme right-wing propagandists, I would object, but am I responsible for that behaviour? No, I'm not. So therefore, should that behaviour reflect on me? Well, hopefully not, if I'm standing firm in my own beliefs and I might disagree with my kids. So to have a child presented in the same way with the type of megaphone that Donald Trump has is simply wrong. And the judge has now placed a gag order because he's now concerned about the impact that might have on his daughter. And of course, if Trump is declaring that someone is anti-them, then they become the target. So the judge is okay, I guess, to some extent, about being the target of Trump's wrath, but it is inappropriate that his daughter, and these guys are sort of busily proclaiming that that they themselves, that it doesn't matter, I guess, what Trump does, that Trump should be permitted to say and do whatever he does because of his First Amendment rights. Well, that's not the way it works in a court of law, obviously. You can't do things and say things that are going to try and influence the outcome of a court case. You just can't do that. But Trump does it all the time, and he gets away with it. And that's why people like Nicole Wallace get frustrated as hell, and she's entitled to be frustrated. I understand that frustration. And now the other thing too is that they're talking here about, just find that clip just in relation to the Easter Trans Day. And so I'll play the clip in relation to the way, in regard to what Rita's talking about here, and then I'll talk about it as well, because this is as unhinged as you get.
Motivated charges. Now let's talk about Irish Catholic President Joe Biden. He's always telling us about what a devout Catholic he is, but he hosted a very non-Christian...
Instead, he's not talking about, he just happens to be a Catholic Christian. One could argue that those terminologies are interchangeable and not, but nevertheless, this is just who he is. So the fact that he's arguing that and there's a great deal of contradiction, I believe, between Trump saying that he's a Christian, which he ain't. It's quite obvious. He can't even tell you a quote from the Bible. And I'm an atheist. I can quote the Bible. I can recite, actually, all of the books of the Bible, for that matter. But that was my upbringing. But yeah, Trump is unable to do that. Probably never read the Bible, doesn't have it in his house, and is now selling it for $60. And it's just another opportunity Trump's trying to use in order to make money from the vulnerable and particularly from the ignorant Christian right in the United States. But this is about Biden having a pro-trans message on Easter.
Christian Easter weekend at the White House, not only banning religious-themed designs from the Easter egg art contest, but also there was much reaction to him promoting Transgender Day of Visibility, as if, that group isn't visible enough the other 364 days. It's not really a day. He posted this message on Easter Sunday, which, Josh, is one of the most holy days on the Christian calendar. The reaction, I've got to say, was strong.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden, from what I saw, got ratioed pretty badly on Twitter. Pretty much everyone defending it was similarly ratioed, including Mayor Eric Adams in New York City. He was badly ratioed. Look, America is still a majority Christian country. America was founded as a fairly explicitly Christian country. I mean, yes.
Yeah, well, you've lost a lot of your Christianity these days, mate, with the type of politics that you tend to express. The point here that I want to make is that day that they're talking about, this pro-trans day, when they talk about the rights of transgendered people, is a set day. The Easter is determined by the position of the moon at certain times of the year. So it appears on a different day each year. And it just so happens, coincidentally, that this particular day happened to fall on Easter. It wasn't designed that way. It just happens that way. And these morons on Sky News want to try and make something out of this sort of these two issues, which is transgender and Easter, and the fact that Easter is about Christianity, and Joe Biden is a Christian, so therefore why is he doing this transgender thing on this day? It's because it just happens to fall on that day. Someone raised another sort of in 3 or 4 years' time, Easter falls on another obscure sort of regular activity or day in the United States. And that at that time, someone will make a big deal of that as well. So this is about a storm in a teacup, and it's about the right wing losing their shit over something that is completely irrelevant. But this is what people like Rita Panahi do. They look for this crap, whether it be Nicole Wallace throwing stuff up in the air because she's frustrated, or whether it's because Trans Day appears on the same period as Easter. It's crazy shit. It happens on Sky News all the time. It is simply who they are. And we need to start to challenge them, and which is what I like to do, is to challenge them on some of the obscure, crazy, shitty things that they say and do. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. Put a comment below. Many people do. And if you agree with what I have to say, I want to add to those comments. I'd love to hear from you. But please, above all, subscribe to my channel and make some comments. Thanks, everybody, for being with me. Take care. Look after yourselves. And more importantly, be safe.